So if we believe that Wingrove was right about this, then those arrows should be roughly accurate. There we go, surface records. The surface records we have of the magma chamber are much less sparse than the Dunny. The map on the left shows both the magma body extent in relation to the surface, but also a depth mapping on the inset with the main magma body 12 miles deep. The entire body consists of a series of magma bubbles pooling at the main body 12 miles 12 miles deep, but of particular note is a small bubble above that, which is at about 6 miles depth. There you go. I believe this bubble is a magma chamber recorded by the Dunny, and in seeing that it's a small part of a much larger and broader magma body, it becomes clear why tampering with the Dunny magma chamber would trigger a devastating earthquake. Sadly, I haven't been able to find the data source for the inset nor determine the orientation of the upper chamber relative to the cardinal directions. The upper right image shows the magma body in its relation to the Albuquerque Basin and other nearby volcanic features. The lower right image shows two different shapes and extents for the magma body measured 16 years apart. You'll note that the other two images each use different magma body shapes, the left map using the older and the upper right using the newer. It appears that the magma body is extremely active and changes shape and location rapidly. Very, very rapidly in geological terms. Rio Grande Rift Basins. And looking at the Rio Grande Rift data, there are several basins associated with it. The northernmost correlates with the San Luis Valley, which spans southern Colorado and a portion of northern New Mexico. This will come into play again in this presentation. The Middle Rio Grande Basin is also known as the Albuquerque Basin. Its cross-section is shown in the lower right. It's believed to have a depth of about 6 miles. Nobody has truly measured it. This is basically their best guess with the data that they do have. This would place a cavern at the bottom of the Albuquerque Basin and would illustrate the geologic phenomena that created the cavern and provides it with its water. Okay. There we go. These are watershed basins. Building upon this, the known hydrogeology for this region shows a large interconnected network. It's important to note that this map shows data from much shallower depths than the cavern's location. But the data on this map will come into play again later in this presentation. Aha! Here we go. This is good stuff. Based on the data above, I've been able to narrow down a fairly tight region where all the data points converge. Above are a few photos of the best candidate calderas I've found thus far. Note that the upper right photo doesn't show a volcanic feature. However, its shape is a fairly good match for the caldera. It looks like you can't see the other one very well. Oh.
My bad.
Right here. It's pretty low. Okay. In scrutinizing the two DRC photos we have of the caldera, there are several noteworthy features. There are power lines stretching across the top of the upper right photo. You can't really see them very well, but they're right in here. They're kind of blurry, but they're there. The visible vegetation in both photos shows it's within the upper Sonoran vegetation zone at an elevation between 4,500 and 6,000 feet. This elevation zone is marked in yellow on the left map. That's the same map you've seen before. This overlay shows the volcanic features in red. And there's the Albuquerque Basin and the two magma body shapes. And the last is a nature reserve called Civieta. Its formal name is Civieta National Wildlife Refuge. And the pen on the bottom is Carlsbad Caverns location. Okay, these are the road trips I've done. Now, each pin is not a road trip. That's actually mapping out the photographs from their GPS readings. So, but there's probably about a dozen road trips in there. But I've been focusing on this Socorro magma body area over the last year. There are a few outliers that are from earlier road trips, but I couldn't make them disappear. Okay, here we are. The Civieta National Wildlife Refuge is comprised of 230,000 acres of land stretching across a 30-mile wide the 30-mile width of the Albuquerque Basin and is right in the heart of magma body country. Unfortunately, it is not open to the general public except for a small visitor center and a few short hiking trails nearby. The refuge boundaries are marked in green on the map above, and you probably can't see them at all. But along the bottom, it's right like that. Up here, and kind of down along here. It's big. Lone volcanoes are marked with the blue circles, and San Lorenzo Canyon is marked with the red oval. The major power lines through the region are marked with the blue line. My recent road trips have been focusing on this area in particular. More about that in a few slides. Okay, I'm going through quadrants of the Civeta boundaries. The map here shows the northwest quadrant of the Civeta area. My most recent road trip focused on researching the major power lines running north-south through this region. There are no major power lines east of the Rio Grande River, which implies that the caldera must be on the west side of the river. The upper two photos show Ladrone Peak from the east side and west side. Ladrone Peak is circled in blue on the map. I was able to follow the crude power line maintenance road south to the Civeta northern fence line. A locked gate prevented me going any farther. Okay, this is the northeast quadrant. There are two obvious volcanoes here. The largest, Black Butte, is just north of the Civeta boundary. The smaller is deep inside the bounds of the refuge and has no known name. The photos of each do not show the characteristic shape from the RDRC images, but many other factors make them excellent candidates. They are in the right vegetation zone. They are lone features in an otherwise flat landscape. They are bounded by distant mountain ranges. They are within reasonable walking distance of the old Camino Real. They are near the Rio Grande Valley, the habitation zone of the zone-tailed hawk. The map here shows the southeast quadrant of the Civeta area. There are 2 or 3 volcanoes here, one in the southern Civeta boundary, the other 2 within the Veronita Wilderness Study Area. I did not mark the boundaries of that on the map, but it's part of where these 2 guys are located. This is the one that's inside Civeta. Overall, these are poorer candidates, primarily because they are clustered near other geologic features and so don't match the lonely open spaces we see for ourselves at the cleft and caldera. Now, these photographs here actually are photographs of each of these. So these 2 go together. This guy is this guy, and this is this. San Lorenzo Canyon area. The map here shows the southwest quadrant of the Civeta area. I explored this area for 2 reasons. Firstly, to assess the power line views at the southern end of Civeta. Frustratingly, I was unable to get near enough the power lines themselves, though I have mapped out a good hiking access for future trip. The pin shows the westernmost location I was able to reach within the canyon itself, which is just shy of the power lines. It was not a happy day. Secondly, I wanted to explore San Lorenzo Canyon to see if it was a good candidate for Yisha's childhood home, Tamana. I decided to approach this from the perspective of maybe if I can find Tamana, I can figure out where the cleft is in relation to that, because we do know that they are within a reasonable distance of each other. The above images show Tamana landscape is recreated in Exile and Revelation, and the photos were taken at San Lorenzo Canyon. I've made 2 exploratory hiking trips there, and each time I'm more convinced that this must be Tamana. Such landforms are quite rare in this part of New Mexico, though are much more common farther north. To find such a striking match in this vicinity where so many other bits of evidence converge is nothing short of amazing. Evidence from Revelation and a purported comment from Rawa suggests that the cleft is only a few miles from Tamana. If we take the evidence from the Book of Tiana seriously, then it would be about an 8-hour walk away from the lodge, which I have theorized is the location where Atris built Tamana for his new family.